It's funny, Kyle. I think 10 months ago now, and we'll talk about, the year in review as we wrap up here. But I remember in February, you and I recording on the show, coming off of a lackluster, disappointing NBA All-Star game. And we were like, how do we fix this? Like, can we fix this? Is it going to even happen anymore? I remember you talked about how disappointed Adam Silver was when he was like, congrats on 200 points, I guess. And NBA went back. They went away from the NBA All Star draft and went East West last year, and that didn't work. So the NBA said, "Hey, let's fix it. Let's just complete upheaval of the NBA All Star game as we know it." And for those of you who haven't heard yet, we're still going to vote for All Stars the same way. 10 starters. Coaches are going to vote for the 14 reserves. So there's going to be 24 All Stars, 12 East, 12 West, as always. But from there, Kenny Smith, Shaquille O'Neal, and Charles Barkley are going to be captains, and they're all going to draft teams of 8 All-Stars for a 4-team mini tournament on NBA All-Star Sunday. And I'm sure you're saying that's just 3 teams with the 4th team. Well, the Rising Stars game on Friday will be 3 teams of NBA Rising Stars and a 4th team of the best G Leaguers. Whoever wins that mini tournament will move on to All-Star Sunday and play in a mini 4-team tournament with 3 teams of NBA All-Stars. Hopefully that makes sense the way I spelled it out just now. That was the brief version of it. I don't know what they're playing to. I think they're playing to 40. The games are
Yep,
to
40.
40. The games are playing to 40, and then the 2 winners of the first game will play in the championship game for the grand money prize and all of that. Kyle, your thoughts? Because I remember you had a lot to say when they first switched the Rising Stars to this format a couple years ago, like 2 or 3 years ago. Now All Star has adopted it. Have they fixed the NBA All Star game? Is it fixed now?
I don't know if it's fixed now. I like it more than Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and LeBron James and Anthony Davis did. But like at the end of the day, it's going to come down to how hard the players play, and I don't know if it's going to $125,000 if it's on the line. To me and you, that's a life changing amount of money. To the guys that are
Yes.
making the NBA All Star game, that is like
Yeah.
a buck 25 that they spend on their iced coffee in the morning. So like I don't know if it's going to give them the incentive to play as hard as like us, like the fans, the media, like everybody hopes they will. But I do think that like there is a level of these guys are so competitive that when they get into a single elimination tournament against each other and you have a chance to advance to win a championship of some sorts, I personally hope that that will, you know, make them play as hard as we hope that, because we're not expecting them to go 110% like it's the playoffs, but play harder than you did last year when the final score was 250 to 248 or whatever it was. So like, I'm hoping it gets them to turn the dial up slightly. I'm not exactly sure that's going to be the case. Now, the thing that I am curious about is like with the Rising Stars team, like if Victor Wembanyama is an all-star, but he's also on the Rising
What's
Stars team
going
that
on in
wins the
my head?
championship. Okay, you were thinking that too? Like, okay,
Yeah.
so then what happens? So now the team that won the Rising Stars tournament, probably because Wemby was on the team, no longer has Wemby. So like, all right, they're just going to grab what? Like the next best Rising Stars player onto their team who now is not even going to be like competitive against the other all-star teams. Like I'm curious to see how they kind of navigate that. But the game itself, I mean, I'm going to look forward to it no matter what, the same way that you are. And you and I both were looking forward to the All-Star game last year, even when we knew the final score was going to be in the 200s. Like that's just how we are. But like I'm curious to see how the reaction to this is if the players give minimal effort, because if they're only playing to 40 points and you get the same effort that we got when the final score was in the 200s, like this tournament's going to be over in 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's funny too. I'm thinking about Victor Wembanyama. Listen, if I'm Wemby, I'm sticking with my Rising Stars team if we win. Because if I join an All Star team that's got whoever is on it, I'm not getting as many shots up as I
That's
can if
true
I'm
too.
playing with
That's true
a
too.
bunch of first and second.
Maybe
I
that's the
want, I
answer.
want, I want my shots. And interestingly enough, I'm thinking about it as we talk through it. Like maybe, and I don't think an NBA player will want to be the guy that's on standby in case Wemby wins with his team. But it does build in an opportunity to have a built-in alternate if Wembanyama wins. And it's funny because I was thinking about it, like, does he just not play? But like, it's been a while since we've had. And I was thinking about the amount of second-year All Stars we've had in recent years, and it's been more than I could like. And then you realize, I think like Zion was a second-year All Star. Luka Doncic was like even
I want
LeBron
to
when he
say
was a
Ja.
second-year All Star. Ja, like LeBron played in the Rising Stars game on Friday and then came back Sunday and played in the All Star game as well. So I'm old enough to remember back when the Rising Stars game was Saturday afternoon, and that like set off like you had that Saturday afternoon little break, and then you come back and you watch All Star Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
So I joked around and saying what happened to the game I love. I miss when these guys got after it. I will always look back and be nostalgic over the 2001 NBA All-Star game. When I think about the All-Star game, I think about the Eastern Conference mounting the comeback against the West, and Allen Iverson and Stephon Marbury hugging at the end of the game as if they had just won Game 7 of the NBA Finals. But now they just came back and got it done in the All-Star game. And I feel like Kobe was like seething on the other side because he never wants to lose, and that was good. I remember, the first year of the Elam ending in Chicago, where we were on hand for that game when Anthony Davis knocked down the game-winning free throw, which was a little anticlimactic. But that game was a good level of competition. A lot of it was in honor of Kobe because they're saying, hey, look, this is the first All-Star game after that tragedy. And like Kobe used to go hard in this game, we're going to go hard in Kobe's honor. And then it just devolved back into what it was. If anything else, I hope the players hate it so much it makes them play hard again. And they say, hey, this is just a reprimand. If you don't want to go back to this again, let's go play the main way again. But, I'll go into it with an open mind. Like you said, I'm going to watch regardless, one, because of work, but also because I love it. And like, I'll be open to see, like, it's been fun. The tournaments have been fun, for the Rising Stars games. So we'll see what it looks like, if you have LeBron and Cat and all these guys who will be All-Stars this year, which we'll talk about more once we get closer to All-Star weekend. But I'll go into it in an open mind. I'm not crazy for the fact that they had to do that in the first place. But again, it's here now. There's nothing that's going to happen between now and February that they're going to change and say, oh, never mind. So you got to accept it.
Yeah, and one thing that I want to say was Tyrese Halliburton who said it. It might have been on Old Man in the Three when like JJ was still doing the pod and everything, and he was a correspondent. And they asked him about like last year because I think he was a first-time All-Star last year, maybe it was second time.
This sounds right.
Way,
yeah.
they like asked him about it, and they were like, what do we do about the effort level? And he kind of made a comment. I'm paraphrasing here, but he kind of made a comment of like, I'm not the tone setter here. Like I'm like, if LeBron and Steph and KD go out there and they're busting their ass and they're giving you everything that they have going hard, then like people are going to match that energy. But he's like, if those guys are just going through the motions, I'm not going to check in off the bench in the second quarter, like run around with my head cut off, diving on the floor for loose balls, like trying to set the tone. Like that's not my role in this All-Star game.
Right.
Like, LeBron is 100-time All-Star. This guy's been playing in the All-Star game as long as I've been alive. It feels like, like if him and Steph and KD and like maybe it's someone like Ant like that has to set the tone, or maybe it's like Jaylen Brown, like someone that like kind of brings that like little bit of edge, a little bit of competitiveness to it. Like Giannis could be that guy, like, but somebody is going to have to set the tone. And if those guys, like to Halliburton's point, like if those guys aren't giving 110% in that very first game, like, whatever two teams play in that first game, then like the teams that play in the second game are just going to match the energy from the first game. And then like maybe they'll go a little bit harder in the championship, but it's going to set the tone for the whole thing. So like somebody's got to be a tone setter. I'm calling on like Giannis to be that guy, KD to be that guy, Anthony Edwards to be that guy, Jaylen Brown to be that guy. Like those are like four guys in my opinion that like if they really go out there, they go hard and they at least pretend like they really care about this and want to win, I think it's going to set the tone for the whole, All-Star tournament that we got now.
No, 100%. And it's funny because a lot of this is part of a bigger conversation. And I'm quoting LeBron James, which we'll talk about in 1 second. But I saw somebody point out, like, man, these guys go harder in like Rico Hines runs in the summer at UCLA than they do in the All-Star game. And I understand there's like a fear of like getting hurt and like it's kind of a break for these guys who are playing in a grueling season and like they don't need to be doing too much. But at the same time, again, like we've seen so many competitive All-Star games in our lifetime. And it's just hard to kind of pinpoint on when it switched, but it switched and it has just gotten worse and worse. And again, like I it does. That's a great point. Like if I'm a young guy, like I'm not going to come in and just be like, oh, well, like I'm not going to be the guy who's trying like the try hard out here, especially if guys are doing this to kind of preserve themselves for the rest of the season, especially if I'm looking at LeBron and Steph and KD saying, well, if this is how they got where they are, and this is like the key to longevity, I'm gonna do what they're doing because I want to have a career like they had. But I remember that Halliburton interview podcast setup because one of my favorite things when we talked about Anthony Edwards, talking about somebody pulled up from Yucatan to hit a three. I think it was Dame Lillard, and he was like, you know where that is? He's like, nah, I don't know. So that just speaks to Anthony Edwards and how funny he is. And we'll definitely see him on the All-Star stage as well.